On today's podcast,
Honestly, I get motivated just waking up every morning. I thank God for what I have, and I always.
the truth is, adding value will never go out of style. Hello, and thanks for joining us for another Five Things podcast here with Vctor Khoury today. I'm pronouncing that right?
Yes, sir.
Khoury, I just want to make sure. Owner of Saints and Scholars. We've actually known each other for quite a while now, and thanks for joining me here today, Victor.
My joy.
And what we wanted to talk about is, people that are thinking about becoming self-employed, thinking about starting a business. You and I are in a little bit different business to where you're actually in a retail space. You had to build out, you had to do a bunch of stuff that I really didn't have to do. So we're both business owners, but it's a totally different process, totally different perspective. So definitely looking forward to hearing about that and what you've dealt with. So tell audience a little bit about where you're from and how you ended up at this point.
I was born and raised in Jordan.
Okay.
And I came to finish high school and to college in 1982, I was about 16 years old. And I finished high school, went on to college, and got married in the U.S. and became a U.S. citizen.
Okay. Where'd you go to school at in the U.S.?
I went to East Tennessee. I went to high school. I ended up going
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Cumberland College in Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like East Tennessee, like Knoxville, like somewhere around there?
Seymour, Tennessee, right outside of Knoxville, between Knoxville and Gatlinburg.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How did you guys end up in that area? Just randomly, or knew some
my
people?
father had a friend back home, and
Okay.
he was, locating kids to study abroad, and all my siblings studied abroad. So
Okay.
and,
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so you end up going to college. Where'd you go to college at?
I went to college in Cumberland College in Kentucky,
Okay.
Williamsburg, Kentucky.
I don't detect any accent.
No, no, I lived here for so long. So
Yeah. Awesome. And then so from Kentucky, you end up.
from Kentucky, I came to Raleigh to finish my engineering degree at State, and
Okay.
I was waiting tables at Red Lobster
Okay.
back in the old days.
Awesome.
And as soon as I turned 21, they recruited me into management, and I think they offered me like $34,000 a year back in 1987.
That was big money.
That was huge money
Yeah,
back then.
especially
plus
a young
bonus,
guy.
Yeah, plus bonuses.
Yeah.
So, and I just had Solomon, which is my firstborn. At that time, I figured, let's put school aside, and I became actually a restaurant manager. That's my first job, to be a Red Lobster manager. And
Is it happen to be the one off old Wake Forest by chance?
actually, yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Man, that place been there a while.
A long time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I moved on and got transferred to several locations, promotions and whatnot. So I think school was totally out in my head. Like I was making enough money to live on, and
Yeah, I can see that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're kind of going to school to start making money, but
Yeah.
you found your niche and you started kicking butt.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the things you did early on as an employee that led you to that opportunity to manage and work your way up?
well, I came from growing up in Jordan. My father was pretty strict, and all he taught us integrity and accountability, and always do the right thing and do your best, and I just took that and I just
Carried over.
ran with it and carried it with it. So everywhere I've worked, I've taken that, and now I use that into my business as well. Being a business owner and a leader of employees, I set the example by leading by an example. So,
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a must. The John Maxwell, one of my favorite books he did, he talked about the speed of the group is determined by the speed of the leader.
Right.
If you're a 8, you're probably not going to have any 10s working for you.
Correct.
So you gotta be the example for sure.
And they're as good as you make them too. So.
Well, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what is something that was bad that happened or negative that happened that you learned a lot from in the past? If you had to think of one thing.
I would say several. We've gone through a bad economy, and we've struggled hard. At one time, I used to have 4 locations, and bigger's not always better. And we became such a big company really fast, and and we've hit some bumps into the bad economy, and kind of, you know, took everything away from me. Just like in 3 years period, I just kept, feeding the beast, and
Sure.
and I finally like decided, what, it's time to move on, and that's when I closed Solomon's restaurant and I moved into Saints and Scholars Irish Pub, and I started that back in 2012, right after I closed Solomon's.
Okay. I was self-employed. I had a business during the Great Recession as well, and one of the things that it's tough to go backwards, and something that I've learned that I think that I could adjust quicker now, if things look bad on the horizon or this and that. I think I'm probably more emotionally ready to make cuts
Correct.
and changes and this and that, because having been through that, and it sounds like you probably have that perspective as well.
Correct. Yeah, just to learn how to cope with bad economy and how to adjust from payroll to
Sure.
ordering and inventory. It just makes you a much better operator right now.
Right.
So, it's true.
And again, that was the thing is, people are really the most expensive. Actually, it is my most expensive. I was just looking at my P&L. My most expensive thing is humans for
Right.
the company. And so I was reluctant when things started, going bad in 2007, 2008. I was reluctant to cut people because these are people that I cared about. And, you keep thinking, hey, we'll figure it out. We'll find a way, this and that. And then you ultimately, I'm paying myself less. Then I'm not paying myself 1 week. And all of a sudden you're hanging on. And I'll tell you the one thing that I learned, not to be sour on employees, but they didn't appreciate it, and it was, you're out there fighting to try to keep everything together.
Correct. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, just not a lot of people. Number one, a lot of them don't appreciate it. But some did. I mean, certainly some did. But I've just learned that, not to kick a dead horse here because we've been talking about it, but I'm going to make changes pretty quickly if I see things coming down the horizon, because got to take care of the baby, number one.
Correct.
And, it is what it is.
Yep.
So that's definitely a good lesson learned right there.
Always. Yeah. It has been.
Let me ask you something, because I know how hard you work. Obviously you've had some good principles instilled in you and this and that. Where do you get inspiration from? What do you think motivates you?
Truly and honestly, I get motivated just waking up every morning. Mm-hmm. I thank God for what I have, and I always pray to God to give me the best ability to do my best that day. So, and I get inspired by just being alive and
Just grateful to have the opportunity.
the opportunity to have what I have, and I think I have more than I need.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's awesome. So just, again, just a spirit of gratitude,
absolutely,
is super positive. And I always got the positive vibes from you, anytime we hang out.
have that peace of mind and just that feel of freedom and knowing that, I'm doing the right thing in life every day.
And you seem like you really enjoy what you do.
I love what I do.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely a people guy.
I love people. I love shaking hands. I love, talking to everybody and seeing smiles on people's faces. And I love taking care of my employees and create a good environment, good working place for them. Definitely.
And there is no perfect place to work out there. If you're listening, there is no perfect place. There's no perfect employee.
No.
There's no perfect employer. So anybody can complain, but I always try to say, if you have a complaint, bring a solution with it. Otherwise, it's just noise. Let me ask you this: so you start Saints and Scholars, which is a great place.
Yeah.
And what kind of was the inspiration behind that? How did you come up with Saints and Scholars?
Actually, I bought the place as is. Saints
Okay.
and Scholars. Too much red tape to change the name because
Sure.
they used to own Solomon's, and I didn't want to just.
Sure.
So I walked into Saints and Scholars.
Okay.
We closed Solomon's on Sunday, and we opened Saints on Thursday.
Okay.
So it was a quick.
Right. Quick
So I took
transition.
all my employees with me, and we combined both menus together. So we took Mediterranean and Irish and combined it together, and it's a pretty good formula. It works great, and we strive about quality and the value and the service that we provide there now. And it was a totally different ballgame from Solomon's. Solomon's was pretty much like a full-time restaurant with a service bar and a beautiful bar.
Right.
Saint's more of a bar, a nightclub feel, and
The live music.
a live music.
Yeah.
The cheers of a restaurant bar, so to speak.
Right. Definitely has that
95%
vibe.
our regulars come in all the time, and they're my bread and butter.
Right.
And I appreciate every one of them. So
Absolutely. It's a great location.
great location.
It's a great setup. And service has always been great. Every time I've been in there,
Thank
you know,
you.
people are
We
polite
strive for
and
that, yep.
and they're all over it. And so, open up Saints as Scholars. What's something that you think maybe separates Saints and Scholars from the average place?
We're not in comp. I don't focus my energy on what other people
Other
are doing.
people,
I just
right.
want to do what I do best and what I know how to do best. You know, I totally believe our prices, which our value is exactly where it needs to be. And as far as the service goes, you know, we strive to give the best service
Right.
that what service industry do is to provide the best service
Sure.
out there. And our quality is amazing. You know, people eat our food and they like, whoa, you know, this is really pub food. So we are pub, but we're also like quality restaurant.
Well, yeah,
material
definitely.
food. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I can vouch for that personally. And thank you for being a iWatch security customer, by the way.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Just did the thank you very much. Just did a great upfit there, a remodel over there. I guess upfit's not the word; it would be remodel.
Yeah.
So you know, all that came out really great. And ultimately, I guess what we'll do is we'll go ahead and jump right into the 5 things topic. You know, a lot of our content is for that young future hustler, entrepreneur, grinder wanting to get out there and thinking about becoming self-employed and this and that. And so, you know, someone with yourself, you've got, I mean, when you factor in management experience, I mean, you've got, you know, what, 3-4 decades, right?
Over 30 years.
Over 30 years experience. So this is great content. And if you had to narrow it down, and I know we were actually talking before the podcast, there's a lot of things you could talk about.
Absolutely.
But if you had to narrow it down to 5, what do you think the top 5 things would be? Advice to someone starting a business, thinking about really, and here's the thing, thinking about going all in on themselves, which is a scary thing.
I believe my number one is integrity. And people confuse integrity by doing the right thing. Integrity really is honoring your word, you know, and when you start a business and, you know, you put integrity there and you honor your word about what you're doing and what you want to do is something that it must. As far as integrity goes, nothing works without integrity. And my number 2 would be don't make it all about yourself. When you start making everything about yourself, everything fails.
Right.
From relationships to, you know, a relationship with kids and your wife and your employees, and
Right.
it's just nothing will work.
Well, you got to be customer focused for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yes.
And, you know, you've probably seen this. I've seen some businesses in the past, like they open up and their hours are 9 to 5. And I'm looking at that type of business and I'm like, how is this business going to survive 9 to 5? You know, how are you not available when the general public is available, which
Correct.
is 5 to 9 p.m.
Correct.
And sure enough, you see that business go out of business about a year later. You know, it's not a job. I mean, you got to be available when customers are available, you know, for the most part, especially early.
And you also, and my priority is also putting customer first, no matter what. Every decision I make, every thing that I focus on when it comes to the pub is, you know, what's in it for the customer? What's the best thing we should do to provide that? Employees, they're number one in my life, and I come last. I put myself last.
Yeah, so customer focused is definitely where it's at.
Absolutely.
And you're always going to err on the side of the customer.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a great principle that I think a lot of people don't, you know.
Well, you got to listen to them and see what they want, you know, from quality to pricing to atmosphere to what kind of music they like, and you got to cater to that.
And you got to change, you got to adapt probably.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're getting, you know, there's a sales thing, but I guess it would apply for business ownership. Is that if you're selling something and you get the same objections back, I can't afford it, or this or that,
You gotta adjust.
then you got to adjust what you're saying, and you need to talk about how affordable it is, talk about the discounts, talk about money it saves you over here. It's all in presentation. And with a business, you're listening to the feedback from your clients, and then you can make adjustments.
Right.
Because your heart's in the right place. You want to provide that good value. You want to provide service.
And a safe place for them to come to. I got a lot of single women who walk in by themselves, and they love coming in because it feels safe, and we're a much classier than an average
Definitely.
nightclub that people. That's what I hear, at least
Sure.
from
Sure.
everybody. So
Yeah, it's well lit up.
Yeah.
I can personally vouch. You've got a great camera system and
Very
security, and
so, yeah.
I know that you paid the price to have good quality in there. So I definitely agree with that. So I guess number 3, we're on quality.
Quality, focus on quality. Never lack that. Never compromise. If anything comes out of the kitchen that I feel like it's just not worth taking out, we just remake it. And if anybody doesn't like it, or they don't care for the way it looks or tastes, they don't have to pay for it. We can get them something else. So we're really big on quality. And for a pub, to be honest with you, Brian, I mean, we buy some of the best ingredients money would buy to create what we have as far as our menu goes.
Well, in a restaurant, it's easy. It would be easy for you to scrimp on some of that
Absolutely,
stuff, but the product would suffer.
I mean, people think chicken wings are chicken wings, but no.
Yeah.
The way we buy 'em, the way we prep them, and the process to make them taste so much better than other restaurants is a long process. Salman, he's my son and he's my chef now. He's been with me for years.
Okay.
And he takes pride of every plate that goes out and
That's
every
awesome.
ingredients that we have. People say, well, salt is salt, but we buy good salt. Good sea salt makes a huge difference.
I bet, yeah.
Definitely. So just
Absolutely.
a prime example.
And that's the thing. It's like nobody's going to see that you're buying the little bit better quality cheese
Yeah.
or the sea salt versus the regular,
Correct.
bulk salt or something like that.
You're getting ground beef or you're getting certified ground beef. Which one is we get the certified Angus,
Right.
versus just regular ground beef. So
And that makes all the difference
a
in the
huge
world.
difference, yeah.
And here's the other thing. I mean, as a consumer, I don't mind paying for that because at the end of the day, if I'm looking at my dish and it's $1 or $2 more, but I love it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's well worth $1 or $2 or $4 or whatever.
And truly, Brian, I mean, people are, they watch what they spend, and, I'm not the cheapest place in Raleigh. I mean, I'll tell you that much. But if you look at your total average check, if it's $3, $4 or $5 more than somewhere else, to me, it's well worth it. Like
Right.
you said, I'd rather go somewhere
Quality.
and spend an extra $10 on my total check, but I get atmosphere, I get great music, and I
Right.
get a safe place to be, and I get a fun, good service, and
You got owners on site,
I'm there all the time.
and your son is there. I mean,
That's
you guys
right.
put your care and your pride into what
Absolutely,
you do.
and my brother's my partner, and he's there all the time too. So, so you get
Well, and it's worth whatever it is. It's worth it.
you get the value there. I'll tell you that for sure.
And I guess I can relate on that on a level that, and I'm not bashing ADT here, but, I feel bad for people that think an ADT employee cares like I care. It's my company. It's my brand.
right.
It's my name.
Definitely, yeah.
I take my company very personal. So they can have great employees. They're not going to get a Brian Smith
No.
because this is, when I'm replying to a text message at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night while I'm watching football, jumping on my iPad to delete a motion detector that's falsing for some reason, ultimately you get people that care, and that translates. And to me, that's worth a couple bucks easily when it
That's
comes to a
what's-
restaurant,
and that's
especially.
what separates us too from corporate versus a privately owned restaurant,
Locally owned.
and locally owned.
Yeah.
And that's what we support all the time.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing: when you support a local restaurant, you're supporting the local economy as well,
Absolutely.
and security company.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
but so now we're on number 4, which is value.
value is a big thing, and I learned in this business. I've been doing this for 30 years. When people go out and they want a steak, and they want to make sure they get a good, thick, fat steak, and it tastes good, and it comes with like a couple of sides and salads, and they want a good value.
Right.
They don't want to feel like
Making me hungry thinking about
and
it.
to be honest with you, Brian, I mean, we go out to eat a lot, and I get disappointed so many times. Not because I can't afford it. It's because like I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth out of it. I'm spending $30 on a plate,
Right.
but I don't feel like I got my $30 worth.
Right.
So being in the Middle Eastern, my family are very generous. My mom just feeds you like crazy.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
So I took that and kind of, if you've noticed, our portions are
Yeah, you guys have
tremendous.
great portions.
Value is huge,
Yeah.
and not just value of how much it is also the quality behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee you won't leave hungry.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And last thing is service.
Service with a smile, and with all due respect to all the service industry, people feel like this is not a real job. I'm going to get a real job eventually. I'm just here waiting tables. I'm just here bartending, and eventually I'm going to get a real job. Well, you know what? It's a real job.
Mm-hmm.
It pays the bills. I've waited tables through college. And
I know some people that do really well in the service
really do
industry.
well. Yes, very well. And my look onto servers and bartenders is you do have a real job, and you do provide service to the community as well. So you're in the service business, and people come to see our servers, to see our bartenders, and know they're gonna be well taken care of. They know they're gonna leave with a smile and knowing that somebody took good care of them. So
Well, I can tell you this too. Just I've definitely I've been single for a long time now, but going to a place where you're gonna deal with that group of people, and they're always consistent. They're happy. There's good dialogue. There's fun to talk to. People that you can interact with, and they're happy. That's a big deal. Environment's a really big deal, and I know you guys do a great job of that. But anybody out there in the service industry that might be listening to this, you're not just in service, you're in sales.
yeah.
That tip is definitely predicated upon the experience the person's having.
And they need to give themselves a lot of credit. I mean, it's a tough business. I promise you. I think, in my opinion, it should be like a high school requirement to wait tables 3 months out of the whole, just to kind of relate to people and get into that, appreciate what hard work is all about.
Right.
Truly.
And being in service, you're in a position to really brighten up somebody's day.
Absolutely.
And directly benefit
That's
from
true.
it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's definitely a big positive. So you've got any special events, or I know you guys always have bands and all kinds of stuff going on.
We do. We're big live music.
Right.
We do
Typically, what, Fridays or
Fridays and Saturdays,
Yeah.
and right now we're backing off Sunday because of the weather, and
Sure.
we're focusing more on football. But usually we do what's called the Sunday Fun Day. It's usually like from 4 to 8 outside on a patio. So,
Okay.
we have one of the nicest patio in Wake County, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is a great patio.
And people love it. They love that Sunday afternoon music. The weather's fine, and we got a couple more Sundays this week. The next 2 Sundays we got music outside on the patio, and then after that we're gonna focus on football and
Right.
let's get through the holidays and
Sure.
New Year's Eve, a big bash, of course.
Nice.
Beautiful '80s bands, and we'll take it one day at a time,
Well, awesome.
one holiday at a time, and go from there.
So definitely check out Saints and Scholars Friday or Saturday for live music.
Absolutely.
Typically
It's on our website.
on a website,
Like
which
us
is
on Facebook. You can always follow us on Facebook. We promote that all day long. So
absolutely. So thanks for joining us today, Victor, and
Thank you,
giving us some tips for our folks out here listening. And thanks again for joining us for a 5 Things podcast. We'll see you next time. Hello, this is Brian Smith, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more valuable content.